Bo Jong De Jin Xin Bo Zhuo Zhong Bo Yang Do Bo Zu Bi Zong Ri Bo Dong Xiao Su Den Bo De Wo Xi Bo Ju Den Jing Ju Bu De Yue Kao Lu Ji Wo Lo Dong Mian Bo Lo Dong Men Dong Ji Du Bo Song Ji Zhong De Ye Jiao Wo Jiao Jiao Du Bo Lo Xiang Ci Qiu Du Jiao Su Ji Wo Gao Zi Gao Ni Zu Ji Dong De Sa Jian De Na Gong Ba De Lu Ma Nian Ji Dian De Na Jiu Ji Su De Zi Ge Bo Jiu La Xiang Ci Na Da Ge Ma Qiu Du Zu Zhuang Wo Yi Xie Jiao Zu Si Ji Ren Bo Zhao Bo Ji Dian Su Na La Yuan Wo Gong Bo Jiu Ni Jiu La Xiang Ci 千九点八正面大约有3多着火就拉相存。广播突击节点播，当机前别点播。是那一点钟左右，提前写了相存。大别的桥着我就个月给送的着。接到的到就播，现在就拉相存。这年正月朗阳的老婆到那手头，先给当包一点点，给的朗阳相思，六包这样没消息，给我别送走吧，让给3年用手的，点点上街的包。干嘛着这么没当，就忙是好去过。面浪落到真道不，这些就能得到。是那的月堂前是我也，古往到南去这这边。高到那到前面老住，随便做两着着哟。
Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Altar Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the 5 skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Sharadvati Putra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The 5 skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure, they neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance and so on up to no old age and death and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, The mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva, noble Avalokiteshvara, that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharadvati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
Rozo kyunla puji dozi yunga chuji yangde song. Zhuda chi zhu nimu ninu neji jadu zhuzi chi. Mari mizi dongi nyungu chi ni zhuzi zhuzi nong. Deni doji zoji dozi yungi nizu jasi tuyu gu. Jero judo jini jiri doli min Jobe yana de ara bazana de ara bazana de ara bazana de Sede jiri chero yuzen Dali temo meva rasene Gada tenju jolo doba ye Lo zhe bo be no Le do yen lo yen lo yen do yen zhe Xiu yen zhe yen me yen do Zhao yen re yen ro yen yen zhe Niu yen de yen zhe yen lo yen de So yen je yen xin yen du Mi yen de yen de yen wo yen Do gen yen no yen no yen xin yen no Xie yen mo yen yo yen ju zhen lo yen mo Hao yen bo yen qi yen no Ji yen ju yen gu yen ho yen no Qi yen zi yen zhi yen dian Qi yen do yen su yen bian Yu yen zhou yen zi yen mo yen lo So yen ju yen zhu yen zhu yen zhou yen bo O yen du yen lu yen dang gu zhe nan Mian zhe nan guan nan Da yo yen mian yen bo dian zi yen nan ma shen bo jin Da ye xiu bian dian dian jiu nan Ba zhen qin bian gu nian jie zong dian Gu song du jie mu zhu zi du su Bian zu ge lian xie yuan zhen bian gu Da ye zhuo yue zhe wa gu ye song Ma le xie jia ji jian zi bian du Xia jie zu wan dian la zu wan dian 多觉千波地心多觉强 Chode de lo bodo naro bo. Enjo jombe bodo ade sa. Nyare shi lo ju lo suwa de. Shangbo tome ye nye nang zhu de. Chode de yue de dang zhu be be. Se da gu sa le nye su le bo. Ya je shi be ji la suwa de. 遥遥月明，兄弟路中道。大我这波这边过着去，长街公中宝宝要子苏。上摩大月就能说我的，西主当边中昂的上，高当天边明波中正节，年就能就过去送老苏。 高当那么能了说我的，刚结心的自己从我，我到这边我手接着接，到我这边到不开着接，要是就把这那说我的，就说跟的那么多接长，看了刚的些年之中的。 秋冬天末木竹自在边，春节老母能老说我的，让将苏州跟老大爷们，街上淘宝这边就我出，在月这边刀砍在包夜，生在些年能老说我的，叫我更多养到那么多。 这面确实别了龙学的，扫动龙就应该绕多的，多久正个公，年头有三节就，多久就能了，想就不多到那都做。 老给姐姐这边做那的，到了平时上街就把手上街就，做街就那想就把多到那就做。老给姐姐这边做那的，到了平时上街就把手上街就。 初见就能了，想就把多到年就做，大概姐姐这边错那的，到了平时上街就不用。哎呀，啊的去，哎呀，他俺从去前年几岁的做大长今对对是吧？长今马上把的呢，就去啊，在家了嘛说呢，去别忘说呀，去想不说呀，你差不多的去学的说也等到了，那俺说这段前的去前年接当时那等着的接的，原来当俺说第二的特别多呢，呀，就所有人都把康也把点的，那就别接多呢，接不接也，你打顾客这个是那的，就是这个呢，谈个人来的，那俺们叫我准备过来等的嘛的。 강 somba teni rani ki ni chenze lepa tani nyane chenze de ko tela pali ki kasa ju duba che dan ya toba nyo de che doa.
So what is meant by receiving the teachings of the Dharma or practicing the Dharma is to subdue one's mind. This is the purpose of receiving teachings of the Dharma and engaging in practice of Dharma. So this is how we should think about when speaking about receiving teachings of the Dharma and so on. And also now we have given a choice of going through a critical analysis. Whatever the teachings that is given is to analyze and examine by oneself and to see what portion of the teachings that can really become as a skillful means of subduing one's state of mind and so on. However, in the earlier early time, which is the time of fortune, it is called. So they normally receive the teachings, whatever the teacher that has given the teachings, they followed the teachings and practice systematically. So this also again one way of helping one's self to subdue one's state of mind.
다 되게 제법인데 다 맞아 제가 그러면 최년비 걸을 때 진도아 내때 내 소유 디시 생기지 맞아 내 방법은 디시 제세에 된 디시 진도아 내때 내 소유 디시 세유인데 맞아 집은 내때 전에 단단 맞아 최년비 걸을 내때 전에 간에 넣어샤 근데 넣어봐도 가르쳐 거고도 세제로 맞아 단단인데 최유 돈은 내세게 타내져야 돼또 미시바도 진진을 시작해 대니이 돈은 간에 넣어샤 대주도 가려도 세대 손놈이 돈은 손 뒤에도 그거도
So it's very important to have a very special aspiration to make an effort to practice to bring about change. In other words, transformation of one's mind. So therefore, it is said that we should look at ourselves as if that we are a ill person and trying our best to really to alleviate ourselves from that illness. And this is how we should look at ourselves, because the reason why we are listening to the teaching is to really to alleviate ourselves from the suffering of ignorance or suffering of negative thoughts and emotions. And so think about what is really gone wrong previously. How do I really, reverse that actions really to become correct?
안되지 당가 좀 보면 시 르네 지체인데 맞게 차체 뭐 진짜 맞던데 이게 고준 가서 너바질 지 제고지로 토는 고준 뭐 제고도 대나기래 맞아 생지기 차체 뭐 제와라天제 뭐 장고래 시지 뒤바데 시지 상만 뒤에 단달아야 지 내는 temba 투병 보라서 보게 네 수지 저서다 저 미바지 제 근데 랑게 된제 란다라냐게 지 마스니 마게 선제 단제 란다라냐게 지 송게 동해대 되어면 된저기 선당 뭐지 동해대 야 삼바 코너를 정상적으로 보지 소사바지래네 야 삼바대 추기 쇼라 아니 슈처 로도에 된저기 차체로 와다 저대로 왔다 되시대
So it requires the collection of many different conditions to bring about change one's mind or to subdue one's mind. So it is therefore whenever we engage in receiving the teachings of the Dhamma, so prior to that we have a certain involvement of recitations and cultivation of the motivations and visualizing the merit fields in front of oneself, such as imagining the Buddha Shakyamuni surrounded by all the lineage gurus of the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment. And then we ourselves is surrounded by all other sentient beings and generating compassion and sense of caring and connectedness with all other sentient beings and cultivating a genuine faith towards the object of refuge.
된저기 좋아지 됐어 소아사바스나래 단연요에는 좀 소아사바마를 건강하 쉬쉬래요 당가 좀 장장을 지게는 지도는 야 롱유에서 지로 된저기 된다라네 미바 가만히 있지 미바 저기다
So let's do these visualizations and try to generate a special sort of feeling within oneself, in a very intense feeling of of faith towards the object of refuge, and having a sympathetic attitude towards all other sentient beings.
다 된저기 결론 치바지는 컨셉 바세 주 아니 상조랑 저런 바스
With these motivations, the teachings we are receiving today is the great teachings on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
아니 자이 사제 경우도 전에 자이 사제제 죽은 좀 때문에 제법이 쳐와 송나 좀버 투병 엄비 구송투제 대 상반내에서 내가 저 최대 무슨 상반보다 정말로 종합 전부 정말로 종합 전부야 근데 저번에네 가서 상조랑제만 제법보여 송이디 아니 조제네 조제 바디 아데샤연 구송투제 대 상거에 최대 걸 내가 최초된 사람아.
So to receive the teachings on great deities and the stages of path to enlightenment, we'll begin with laying out the four major outlines, beginning from the greatness of the authors given in order to show the teachings as noble source. So with this, when it suggests that when we are under this outlines, it is important for one to think about, reflect one's mind upon the body qualities of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, and also the Lama Tsongkhapa, and as well as Atisha Divankara Shirjana, who is the actual master who wrote these teachings of the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
상추 생기냐네 상추 생기 토당이 트든 중인데 나 조조 바디 아데샤 내가 주시에는 다 뒤서 급 던져지라니 다 타이 장소 파갈란로 데라 트리노는 비게자로 다 데르선이 가서 나던도 도데버로 데리콜 트런로 비콜라 롱기 트라 제타네 롱기 카쇼되는 로에지마도 데린데는 데도거세기 차기다 되는 거는 로트여레면도 이걸 대마세다 치신의 소바게 니가 하장치어 드리지 걸 다 변조로 당은 카도 춘춘지시야나 드리지 단달라 상주지 사람보진 담발연세다 라마슬리라 편에 라마슬린 베대야 센서비 라마지레스네 니 상주기 센터 라마 나게 쪼데 아니 조지 바데 아데시 저거 가사 라마슬린가 저거 소도 아주지 그래서 상주 생기 편에 찾는데도 유대인자
So here now, the Atisha Divankara Shirjana is the holder of the instructions of the spirit of enlightenment, or the bodhicitta. Because in order to receive the profound teachings, the vast and profound teachings of the bodhicitta, Lama Tsongkhapa traveled. Atisha traveled all the way from India to Serling, where he received his instructions on the bodhicitta from Lama Selingpa. And it is said that he traveled by boat, crossing the oceans, and at that time there were no such motorboat. It is a boat, the manual boat, and also a lot of danger of losing his life due to the weather, as well as the many vicious creatures that has existed in the oceans at that time. So even though there are a lot of obstacles and dangers on the way, on his journey, never gave up. He never gave up, and finally, not giving up. And then finally, he arrived selling and received the instructions of the bodhicitta from Lama Selingpa.
that's the rich. 다 되네서 네 rangi 진짜 사이라는 거지 남아서나 아니 제치대 대반이제 아니 rangi 주신절로도 소세네 되진 거지 저기 칸에서서 맞잖아요 지 때문에서 rangi 라미 바디는 선라미 나타사네 라미 내조선나리 근데 고소도 있어요 저 생기디도 강 제투도지 되진ኛ는 제가 백개청으로
So it is very important just by reflection upon those lineage gurus, beginning from the Buddha Shakyamuni and all those lineage gurus of the Lam Rim Chenmo, such as Adisha and Lama Tsongkhapa and so on, and supplicating to them that may my mind stream be blessed by all the qualities of your body, space, and mind. And if one is able to do that, on a day-to-day life, and it is very beneficial.
아니 최지 처와네 되진 가서 시대에 되래 다 최지 처와네 된르게 라마 쳇는데 demba 대다게네 진지 쳔베 끄는 하네 아니 최지 때나다 만나와지만 나와지데 때히역로 여마로 강비 다다지만도 다 가와용 그래서 해야 되지 이제 라마 대다게 그 손도지 때때 지시에서나 아니 최지 처와데 장시지 라마 대다게 손데 자체 뭐 임바 나슈슈로 내야지
So then having reflected one's mind upon the body qualities of the body, space, and mind of the great lineage gurus. So then the next outline, which is showing the greatness of the teachings in order to engender respect for the teachings, will generate within us, as byproduct, because such a great authentic teachers who is an embodiment of the wisdom and compassion, and their teachings will not be there will no error in their teachings. So therefore, who's always whose wish is to work for the welfare of entire sentient beings with great compassion. So therefore, there will be no error at all in their teachings. So with this kind of reflection, one will be able to generate a greatness towards the teachings given by those great beings.
니시 때다 샤와세데 당가 주kin로 줘봐 뒤에 kinlo 줘야 돼. 다 텔레지어시나 다 투상 거서세네. 저거 상제지 고고터버지 제게 인생에 들리지 kinlo 토네. 니 진이 제거로.
So then how to listen to the teachings in which the teachings and its authors are great. So then here it's also important that to have a motivations that my sole purpose of receiving these teachings is to gain state of enlightenment for the benefit of other sentient beings. And this will then be followed by another last outline, the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught the actual instructions. This will then be followed by the subdivision, sub outlines, how to rely on the teachers, which is the root of one's spiritual path, and how the students train their mind after having relied on teacher. 다 생제는 쇼발로 틀어서 생제는 호발로 비전생 호발에 레월로 상제만 주바된바 호발로 비리만 니시바 다 동문인들서 다 호발로 비리만 니시바라니 대바침보 쩔어서 제바도 도지 대바도 수예지 다 동보라서 샤세제 호발로 한대 정도 전에 저스제 당보서 손에 제단에 수예지 다 동보라서 강라로 비제 델로바나 디지 델라로 비리바지
다 동번이 돼서 다 될라로 비린발라 니 쇼바 jel라로 저도 치보다 파세 타만이라도 쓰지 다 동번이자 다 파세 타만이라도 질러 베지사이 사지 전에 주도 말하는데 아니 샬라게 뭐 아니 아마리 샬라게 편연 되니 되겐지게 되시대 대바 샬라게 뭐 아니 대니가 방법이 전세 아니 고랭해 봐 아니 소실 합시스 당가 쪽에 아니 파세 타만이 냐선님 비거라 아니 신내다 하더니까 가르치나 강구래 세대 네 사제 될때 니가
So,
강급이 제세사 제세 주셔바냐 제세 거사 제세
now,
제세
neither long.
제세 주셔발라 소네 소발라 아니 바로 신내다 하더니까 가르치나 노그래 세대
So, we're on the last two perfections of the practice of the bodhisattvas. So, currently we are under we are discussing on the serenity and insight, right? On the serenity and insight, there are six outlines, but out of 6 outlines, we are on the 4th one, which is why it is necessary to cultivate both serenity and insight.
당연히 가서 가르려면 까체도 시소서 되버더래
And the Komrim Babale in Rumiche. Komrim Babale, Shine Zambaji, you cover Chavan in Nejovan, you develop me bongi, Reshi, your number number some say they like it.
괜찮게 알랭게 따디 좀 돼.
They can't have no young come go to say to what I'm saying.
알레 고네 동볼레로 와.
Long,
센치제도 요새도 말해. 계속.
Marelo.
디오더래.
Mawoli,
그것도 지테는 마송지. 신내 많이 봐도 디혼도 계산도 문제 좀. 알레 되제도 가도 이런 경우도 가서 놓았어.
This hasn't done some didn't do some amigo all right.
알레야야.
And the Komrim Babale, Shines and Baji Comberjavan, Nejovanamji, Japan Mipongis, Regime Yumon number some said they said. Yumon one number said
어, 따다이 돼. 당가 좀 들리지 상나도 안 좋아. 되는 배나 신내다 하더니 가고 배나 신내 코로 신내서 손다다 신하게 팀어리 녀mol에 내스게 말이 녀모 신내랑 질레 집이거라 녀모 라방 먼저 배나 되냐도 질라다. 마도 녀모랑 되냐 먼저 먼저 배나 칸고를 시라기 나버진지 신내도는 되게나 신내라 나면 잡이거라 데피라 녀모 라방 먼저 라질이 요거 말이 신내 될 론차와다다 니 녀모 라방 먼저 알래 나가 수수제요.
So practice of the serenity, which is Shine Kama Bari, is not exclusive practice of the Buddhist practice. It's Buddhism in other words. It is shared by both Buddhists and as well as the non-Buddhist practitioners. So just mere achievement of serenity or karma bedding, Shine, will not actually eliminate our negative thoughts and emotions or the mental afflictions. By cultivating serenity, will actually suppress our gross level of negative thoughts and emotions. Primarily, the gross level here refers to the Dunyan, which is the gross level affections of the desire realms. This can be suppressed, but this cannot be uprooted. When the individual is on the meditative concentration, meditation on Shine, such individuals, gross level of negative thoughts and emotions are all suppressed. However, when they come out of that meditation and they said all those negative thoughts and emotions, even the gross level of negative thoughts and emotions will arise because it has not been uprooted.
당에 강고대 고래 바발레 생이되는 산자텔레 도롱아니
Lam Rim Teachings.
대양아도 강고대 고래 바발레 신내 짱 바시 공바셰베네 내조반나지 제반에 메pon치 제시 뇽어바나바나바산 세데 싫어진 노완 정화 Mepa Palani Leva Chomba Menjero, Deana Papa Gumba Nyabanjebi, and Jeva Tinile Esondwa.
So let's resume the reading from the text again. This is page 22, the third paragraph, the Kamalashila second stage of meditations. It says, cultivating just serenity alone does not get rid of a practitioner's obscurations. It only suppresses the frictions for a while. Unless you have the light of wisdom, you do not destroy dormant tendencies. For this reason, the Sutra Unraveling the Intention meaning says.
Chidanga Sutiji, Numo Sede Rapachi, Palani, Sedi Moncha, the Numogi Pachado Chilaco. Palani Sedi, Numo Munjo, Loranji Munjo, Manjoate, and Sabin City, Deading it Chila Palani, Salagrichida, mature the Sedi Palani, the town in the Jontu Mare said.
So here the afflictions, negative thoughts or afflictions are said to be the gross level of obscurations. So when you see here what in the text what it says, you do not destroy the dormant tendency is a subtle level of negative thoughts and emotions, and it is something that remains inactive, but they're always there. And as long as you're unable to eradicate this dormant state of dormant tendencies, then the gross level negative thoughts and emotions are bound to arise.
Della Sherogin Thomas do Sherono, there's a Jomochi, Jami, Sino, City Nijodoa, then the City Sherono Badis, Sherono Badis, Jomo City and Johnson, the Shero say that one.
That's all. So it's a very beautiful the line that we see. Unless you have the light of wisdom, the light of wisdom is also again when the Chinese, Buddhist brothers and sisters, when they recite their Heart Sutra, at the end of Heart Sutra, they have such a beautiful verse where they recite the light of all those negative thoughts and emotions be suppressed or eliminated by the light of wisdom and so forth. So His Holiness keep His Holiness often says that's a so beautiful verse.
I was talking about reaching. Oh, she's no major watch. There, na Papa Gumang Dependo, Denny Ledge. Sunday, Jumba number no, Shero Jene Palani, Jomba Shadow, Sheka Zedo, Papa Dingen the Jabo Legend. Dingen Zende Gamba Shemeji, then dot to Dishin Jimishi. They knew more shit she wrote to the last year, then a ding zing Gamba Shen. Get the chula dame soso tade. Gete gambane, tene nyangen de tap jebi ju, jishen tage, tene shumin ju, xie song so song.
So then here, Sutra Unraveling the intended meaning says, meditative stabilization suppresses afflictions. Wisdom destroys the dormant tendencies. And also the King of Concentration Sutra, Samadhiraja Sutra says, although the worldly person cultivates concentrations, they do not destroy the notion of self. Their reflections return and disturb them, as they did Udarka, who cultivated concentration in this way. If you analytically discern the lack of self in phenomena, and if you cultivate that analysis in meditations, this will cause the result attainment of nirvana. There's no peace through any other means.
这是不是讲，对吧？等于的，我是定义在港口人当定义这个大的这些的没不差个嘛的，大的这些没不没差吧嘛？这第一些人你们实现的冲或者是的，别那是冲的是的是吧？我所以呢，就是觉得定义这的是别那些了吧？现在的咱们老看嘛，是别看啥得到也，你定义这刚呢，你现在如果人当，你大顿准备当这些这些的没不说图个嘛的，没图吧嘛这。现在的老板呢，你们实现的抽用我的，你们马路上抽用我的，抽的看着现在抽过来噻呢，那别呢，你了抽的，那些就你们定义谁的，那学了不的现在刚把现在谁的，别的了，的就晓得，那些你的呢，定这刚把现在谁给的了，别呢，现在刚把学了把现在。
So now here in this two verse actually explains that how just mere meditative concentrations or serenity alone will not adequate to eradicate our negative thoughts and emotions with their roots. So therefore it says, it can only suppresses the gross level of negative thoughts and emotions, but it cannot get rid of the dormant state, which are remaining in a dormant state. The negative thoughts and emotions that are remaining in a dormant state cannot be eradicated. So here, it is because not having understood the self in phenomena. That is what it means. Not having understood the lack of self of phenomena, a self of person. So even though one may have suppresses and become an absence of a gross level of negative thoughts and emotions by meditating and by remaining on calm abiding, the meditation on calm abiding. When you come out of that session, then the negative thoughts and emotions are again bound to arise. It's just like what is said there. They have, said an example of as they did Udarka, who is referring to one of the non-Buddhist practitioners who actually can actualize the meditative concentrations, however, has not recognized the lack of self of person and phenomena.
네. 당어서 타반양에 대해서 저도 지시하다기 시원 좀 시선해야 돼요. 내가 지현단되는 지현되는 시원 문제도 선도 좀 이정도 현단은 타반양에 대비 저도 남의 또 소소도 싫어 되는 제마도 될래 지야바데 타반양에 대비 저는 로시그 말이 소야.
So there are some sutra it says that other than wisdom realizing selflessness, other than the wisdom realizing selflessness will not become a cause of liberation or the nirvana.
되지. 맞은 데랑 주세대랑 주소 제대랑 당가서 제바 신주修正나 양 가르를 세지 고식으로 맞은 데를 고된라에 제제당 아니 라된라 제제선나라고로 매 타냐 따버로 거의 떠지 타봐. 배나 타바된 저부 말원 저부에는 뭐 보인 거라 타바데 따버로 와. 인산에 콜 주든 저부게 타니 되게 제저당에 전제스 제유저다 제유저부선에 아니 타니들 작을 마도 아주 전제 상황이 되게 말이야.
Here again, when speaking about the nirvana being its result, and the wisdom realizing emptiness or selflessness being the cause. So here one should not have a notion of cause and effect as we understood normally, because the cause and effect should be an impermanent phenomena. So, however, when it comes to the nirvana is not something that is impermanent. It is not a compositional phenomena, compositional factor. Rather, it is what we call tagba, which is the eternal phenomenon. So therefore, it just have a mere term of it's just mere imputed a term result on nirvana, because nirvana coming into being due to the cultivation of wisdom, realizing selfnesses. However, the nirvana itself, it's not an actual result that we normally understood as a impermanent phenomena.
당가 저기 단다 고야 네 단다 고야 가르고 그래서 얘나 타바 터널에 탕치 쳔바 터널에 녀모 방날에 시비 방날에 이 방에 되라 아니 소소도베 남에도베 싫어되래 남에도베 하통되래 되래 델레쳔바 이게 더 시그마래 되래 되면
So what it really emphasizing here and explaining, I mean, in other words, is now it is only someone who cultivates wisdom realizing selflessness or wisdom realizing emptiness can enable an individual to achieve liberation or state beyond sorrow, or nirvana, which means a state beyond sorrow.
대중가 시고야 상축이 생생인데 아니 아마나기래 아니 돈이도 비셔라데 아니 파데지 바레스 시고야 로아 돈이도 비셔라데 아마 돈이도 비셔라데 아마데 가서 용체모 셔라지 바로데 심바 용체모 셔라지 바로데 심바 근데 아마 메나 부기제요 마로
라소. So normally we have a saying that bodhicitta, which is the method aspect, is known as the father leg, and the wisdom realizing emptiness is said to be a mother leg. So because the mother is more powerful causes which produces its child and so on.
데라 전제 예즈랑을 자는 타바랑을 산나도소나 그런 고안에도 다가라리 남의 또 뱉어지 아니 시주에네 내주에네 뻥비 뻥차 그런 매비 매차질에 아니 상제세 그래 고den세 그래 타바세 그러 지파세비 세차질.
So therefore, as we mentioned earlier, that one should not really take a sense of when we talk about the nirvana being the result of wisdom realizing emptiness, one should not have a sense of nirvana being the actual result or some kind of sprouts and so on. Rather, it should be understood. For instance, when we speak about actualizing cessations, cessation is mere the state of being freed from negative thoughts and emotions. That is, the state of being freed from negative thoughts and emotions alone is said to be cessation. However, such cessation is not something that is transitory or impermanent.
상추 생비 되네 레장 간다 상추 생비 되네 지 취지 나던데 마토 파비춘 되와 마토 땡엔진 장지 초반진 바타번에 나제지 온게 무비 나제도 통신 지와다 가와다 나와다 지와다 명한데 명아 덤바 당 동해와다 이 메대와다 추발레 용수 메드 로아 주게 코알레 용수 메드 동해지 공벌레장 용수 메드데 델라고네 대제시베 데키 제 젠라 주스 튠바 토바네 가실레 조안조로 셰카츠도 셰송소 어송도
And it's also the scriptural collection of the Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas Pitaka says, those who are unlearned in the contents of the scriptural collections of the Bodhisattvas, unlearned in the discipline of the noble teachings, and who derive a sense of sufficiency from mere concentrations, fall by the virtue of their pride into an inflated sense of themselves. They will not escape from birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentations, sufferings, unhappiness, or perturbations. So they will not escape from the six realms of cyclic existence. They will not escape from the aggregation of sufferings. With that in mind, the Tathagata said, learning from others what is appropriate, you will escape again aging and death.
되지. 대중 가서 뒤져서 다 정으로 지래 단데 지름을 지긴 단데 되게 미조선 때 이제 가서 제한 일하면 세배기 로기 총지 코너 전등에 되라 장장 대코로 제바들 전에 소리지 양수 송용도 제당이나 가서게 땡에 그 강에 찌는 일하면 세배 상제랑 쳐서 여러 생이 다운증이 지도 제한 일하면 세배 생了생나도서나 상제랑 시로를 되라 상제 세그리 센데 된지를 주겠잖아. 제가 나치라 소바에 지어반투고 말해서 얘다.
So what it really explains here is now, one should not remain contented by mere practice of concentrations or calm abiding, in other words. But one should not derive a sense of sufficiency from mere practice of calm abiding, because this will not really become a remedy for our negative thoughts and emotions. It is therefore, we will again, if we remain contented by the mere practice of concentrations or the calm abiding, and we will then again fall back to the birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, and so on.
되지. 내가 텔레곤에서 지금 이제 지다기도. 텔레곤에 디제시비 신라 주스팀 바세디 아니 디시냐라 아니 타바다 탄제 쳔바다 주스팀 바 토바네 아니 가실로 줘봐 조로스네. 이제 시탄 적고도 되라.
So then it says, with that in mind, with that in mind. So what is meant? What we should bear in mind is to bearing in mind, not letting us derive a sense of sufficiency from mere practice of concentrations or the calm abiding. So then it says, with that in mind, the Tathagata said, learning from the others what is appropriate, you will escape aging and death.
되지. 되지. 시소소지. 대다예나 대다예나 하지. 주파타다 빵에 용스 아비 신종한 되베 신내라 내내 싫어건부 샤오 되게 저 건조 봐 내장 까제데 스테레다 대나시디 뒤지는게 러데다 가서 동도 자와이나 데레다 타바다 타제치만 되게 지나 신내 터네 델라데비 에네 하톤 주쇼 손데시.
So then here's as this is so here it says now, if one long to achieve liberation and state of enlightenment, here it says, as this is so, those who seek completely pure sublime wisdom, from which every obscuration has been eliminated, should cultivate wisdom while they remain in serenity. This point, that's all.
대개도 파파 건조지바 내장 까제데 수준라 내내 띵인지 탑데 띵인지 터네 장 싫어건버시 싫어지네 싫어 넘버 타바 탑 이시 넘버 탑에 수준 필수소 시까제도 파파 테바 쳔보라 대파 건비 돌레장 리지부 싫어 녀와 미네나 샹추 셈바나제 테바 쳔보라 대파 테파 쳔볼 대파 테파 쳔볼라 제탄 종왕에 마마와 시까제도 시에손비 싫어서.
So then on this point, that the Ratnakota collections, the Ratnakota Granda says, keeping ethical discipline, you will attain concentrations. Attaining concentrations, you cultivate wisdom. With wisdom, you attain pure sublime wisdom. As your sublime wisdom is pure, your ethical discipline is perfect. the Sutra of Cultivating Faith in Mahayana says, child of good lineage, if you did not have wisdom, I would not say that you had faith in the Mahayana of the Bodhisattva, nor would I say you knew the real nature in the Mahayana.
다 뒤진은 가 좀데레 배나 하바송데 인지 미지 하바송데 이 지자체는 가 추천질 하비 지자체 등인들 하바데 배나 주보 있으듯이 라차 있으듯이 싫어질 하바자지도 뒤진가 속에 배나 신동적으로 녀몬의 신동적으로 첨부 지자 등주지 신도 첨부데 제발라 공부자서지 시대 추천적으로 표성소바지 거거레스 등주기 추천 이제 야보데 임바 가실라 쟁이기 메디 주보데 답디하고 거래 된저기 매기 주보다 사기니 가나 아니 라차데 야보지요서나 아니 된저기 녀모비 신도 제발라 아니 갈래요 말 수준비리나리 가레나 피소소가 차그레세야 돼 시제데 인사로 뒤정아서 예도는 송도 송진던도
So we have the teachings, explanations by the great teachers by setting an example of cutting the wood here. So here now, when speaking about the cutting wood, the wood here referring to the wood of afflictions. How do we cut the wood of afflictions? First, we need to have this higher trainings of ethical disciplines, which is the basis where the woodcutter can stand firmly. And then not only that you find a firm stand ground, but you also have one also needs a strength, which is one's body. One should have a strength so that you can cut that wood, which is referring to the high trainings of the concentrations, and then not just it is not adequate just mere having the firm ground and also the strength of one's body, but you need a weapon or any other tools means to really to cut this tree of afflictions, which is the high trainings of the wisdom. High training of the wisdom here referring to the actual weapon. It actually cuts through the tree of delusions.
대체 더 디스페도서 난 하마기 베레 다 데리손이 라차다 체리아 제로자디 디페도 슈로고 말에 단치고 말로 메시지 도장라서 제샤로서는 다시 디네제데 나만 페도서는 로고 말에 그 차전 거 게차로.
So this is given. This example is given those time where they did not have access to the missions, but now it doesn't require a lot of strength, right? We have a mission that can cut the huge trees very conveniently. However, but such example is not referring to modern time. It is the example that is given is a very long time ago.
베데 메드는 우등차고 세거로 현재들이 녀와세데 가요를 녀와야나 아메리카 메시폰들은 도샤레스 녀가저지 가요레스는 되게 시에제 그래서 양 가서 우등이리반 우등세그레베 다 나오면 저 괜찮지로.
There are some people would say that where is the hell? There is no such that existence of the hell, because if there is a hell, then we can use this missile where you can destroy the hell, because we have a very powerful missile in the United States of America, which has a power to destroy the hell and so forth. But those are the very blind, unrational sort of statement.
되지. 다때는 리지부 싫어지면 내가 세대래다. 담에 또 싫어지는데 싫어지 매와이나 이 대바치볼라 대바여봐 산제 가래 그래서 렌저와이나 네 개개라도 말이 소원도지. 로 같은 거니 시크로기 고아라 반대잖아요.
So now here the last 3 lines what it stated, the Sutra Cultivating Faith in Mahayana says, child of good lineage, if you did not have a wisdom, I would not say that you had faith in Mahayana or Bodhisattvas, nor would I say you knew the real nature of Mahayana. So here what it is suggesting here is now, without having a wisdom which understands the selflessness, just mere having a faith in Mahayana, I'm unable to say anything whether you are able to, eradicate your negative thoughts and emotions. That is what is meant by.
변나 맞춰도지 신주 세나레 가제지 생애나 변나 티바 첨보르지 상의 링에서 엄보신도 내버려 돈유도 별로 지내면 상주 센지고기 티바 첨비 랑 가스로 그래서나 비주 천원 중간에 마도 대에는 로투고야면나 비지 가버려 로 천원 전에래서나 아니 세답이 생제타를 되라 아니 자세 주셔발라 가세로나 연주한 도 못응이게 로 덴데레발라 아니 바로데 심바돌로 하고래 대체디 배제 상주 돈유도 별로면은 대바침 먹고는 짱벌레지 선는 동안에 대바침이 선은 충의하는 로투고 말이야.
So here, without having wisdom, just mere cultivating spirit of enlightenment and engaging in continual practice, you will not go further than the path of small accumulation of the path of accumulations. Will not be able to go beyond that without having wisdom realizing emptiness. Sorry, the word selfness is so emptiness.
다 천원의 전화 표발라 돈유도 별로 짱짱 표거래. 티바침비고 돈유도 별 하동타바다 티바침비 전화 표가 되냐래. 티바침을 랭해졌어. 인제디 그때 돈유도 별로 이게 랑야 푸니마도 랑고만 표발라 돈유도 별로 이거는 표거.
So in order to transcend and advance oneself from the path of accumulation, the Mahayana path of accumulation to path of preparations, which requires wisdom realizing emptiness, because it is insight into the quality of insight, which means insight into the selflessness, will enable the individual to advance from path of Mahayana path of accumulation to path of preparations. So without which will not be able to advance one's path, because the advancement of one's path from one bhumi or the one path to another path in advanced stage of path is done on the basis of cultivation of the wisdom realizing emptiness. This is what is meant by I would not say that you have faith in the Mahayana of the Bodhisattvas, nor would I say you knew the real nature in the Mahayana. Okay, let's take 10 minutes break.
고랭해 봐서는 가르 고랭해 봐래서나 아니 신을 알아도 나질라 저봐라 신을 모두 로고 봐도 내봐래 세트 계제들 고랭.
So here now we are on the fifth outlines of how to be certain about their order. So we are talking about the order of cultivating the serenity and insights. So here in this sections, it actually explains the importance of cultivating serenity prior to the cultivation of insight.
那过来年比去年送的宣主来，现在绕的点比哈通给你们那本中把写写呢，他们现在这下写送吧大送的。
And
我了
here's
现在马上中就是新我送不大，我了现在就呢，点呢点了点比哈通刚把一弄我送的。
how to be certain about their orders. Shantideva was engaging in the Bodhisattva's teach says, insight possess of serenity destroys the frictions. So knowing this, seek serenity at the outset. According to this statement, you first achieve meditative serenity and then cultivate insight on that basis.
啊，这些，这高点学的，现在老的，你们那边就我写下呢，第一点到了，开始写不了是呢，别呢，这里觉得，我说他们对比康萨期间呢，你们那边你们早晚呢，没把所谓颜色呢，你那学上了，前几天要啊，那，你他妈，你学上一现在的这学是，你现在的就是说呢，你现在了点比，你拿到的着急的这个的，别的你们那边讲土的，说的来的。
So what this section actually explains, it actually explains that if one long to achieve liberation or this state beyond sorrow, then first one must cultivate serenity or the shini or calm abiding. On the basis of cultivating calm abiding, one then cultivates insight, which then becomes a remedy for eradicating the negative thoughts and emotions, which then lead oneself to the state of liberations.
对，但是我说那个可能老百姓了被下的那个点了，俺的一些的现在点不起买完了，他同意，如果他不起买完了，你拿起去绝头嘛的，所以的了。
So here, now, we said the example earlier that the serenity, cultivation of serenity as a firm basis where you can stand firmly. And then not only that it's adequate to have a firm ground where you can stand, but you have to have the strength to cut the tree of afflictions. And then we need appropriate tools where we can cut through the root the tree of afflictions.
这人讲的工人动不来，第一明白了，他的了多久几来下，多久啥个了，多久到去，最好到去。这人讲的动不工人动不来去，这了第一明白了，眼巴面多，现在就明白了，眼巴面不伤心，那些不大，现在就明白了，去年到去年2月把月呗，动不大没别等过完些呢。 这了面的港边3线的民营现在当多年多比面多年了面边他当应该地区的叫啊出门这些人们了现在这呢电脑他当刚把时间呐送的的都很了不起。
So then here it says, according to this statement, you first achieve meditative serenity and then cultivate insight on that basis, right? Then the next, followed by the calm, where it says, Kamalashala's first stage of meditation says, its object of meditation is indeterminate, sorry. So then, meaning that the object of meditation of the meditative serenity is indeterminate. So as explained above, where it says, the object of meditation of the serenity may be either serenity itself or the conventional phenomena possessed of reality. If you first understand the meaning of selflessness and then meditate while focusing on this. It should be enough to simultaneously produce both serenity of an uh, 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 serenity of an undistracted mind and insight focused on emptiness. Why then is it said that you first seek serenity and then cultivate insight?
되게 돈도 쓰고 쉬지 이거로 맞아 이 신내라 돈이 또 비신내야 돈이 마도 비신내야 세디 돈이 이게 신내기 미발니 최대 최전인가 열세디 저당 가서 추여서는 변나 실질의 장인의 본바생인데 최전라자 본비되게 춘이 되라 춘이 아니 최대 최전세나리 최대 춘이 있어서나 그데 이제 간저지기 때나 데마디데 원질로 도바 타데도 여베세 라윤데 아니 이제 코는 최전대 견도된 맞아 되게 춘이 되다된 맞아 되니 이시지 되는 데도 모르는 거 같은데 내가 근데 인가는 내가 최대 최전자서 춘이.
So now here, the object of meditation of serenity can be either reality itself or the conventional phenomena possess of reality. It says, right? There are serenity which realizes the emptiness as well. So when speaking about reality, serenity, that doesn't mean that all the serenities doesn't really realize emptiness. This is not, however, it's not so. There are serenity that realizes emptiness and so on. So therefore, there are different objects of meditations, both conventional phenomenon possessed of the reality. What is meant by conventional phenomena possessed of reality is now the conventional phenomena, for instance, let's take an example of the vase. Vase in front of oneself. The vase itself is a conventional phenomena. The mode of existence of the vase is the reality of the vase. So that is what is meant by conventional phenomena possessed of reality. Because according to the Madhyamaka Prachangikas, when we're speaking about the two truths can be existed within the one locus.
다 되게 랜드 적으로 다 되니 될 가르치는 것도 보고 그래서 나와이 나지 될 신내 라통게 모든 rol로네 다음에 또베 따이 고와째바나 신내 모든 로 미거때 신내 매발 랑 따와째바 통이셔로 따와텔라 인주위 뇽와째바 랑 신내 모든 로 미거때 신내 매장 소소도비 싫어지 양양시에 공부시에베 윤조와째와 민가의 시대 가나 메타바다 쿠이니미 당 상추지 생 장와라 이주위 뇽와째발라 신에 라랄레바 하자타이 시대 진생 균에 총비 셔로 송도들 내지.
Here now the reply to this above questions. It's a very comprehensive reply, where it says the way in which the serenity precedes insight is as follows. You do not need to have serenity already in order to develop an understanding of the view that knows that there is no self. For we see that even those who lack serenity develop this view. Nor do you need to have serenity already in order to experience mental transformations in regard to the view. For nothing precludes mental transformation being brought on by the practice of repeated analysis with discerning wisdom, even in the absence of serenity. If you claim that the absence of serenity precludes mental transformation in regard to the view, then the very same reasoning forces you to the extremely obscure conclusion that serenity is required even to experience mental transformation when meditating on impermanence, the faults of secular existence, or the spirit of enlightenment.
대체 세고 쉬지 송송 다른 가서 신행하던 로그를 세디 돈이 또발에 신행하던 로그 세그 말이야 세디 기타지 아니 돈이 또 별로라 지 강아슈키 용화 제발아요 아니 신행하던 로그스 로그요 말이야 세 대니 이게 파티 동보대니 기타지제다.
So here now one thing that we need to understand in order to gain a realization of emptiness, it doesn't require, prior to that, there's no prior requirement of cultivation of Shine or the karma abiding, nor gaining the experiential knowledge of emptiness requires the prior knowledge of shamatha or the Shine.
되지. 다 돈이 또 별로라 나가 녀한 때서 가서 이지 녀한 세디 쭉 먹거든 나가 수술로 째야 되나 아니 이지 녀한테서 그러. 근데 지저는 돈이도 별로 그거야나 아니 가서 상주선은 녀한테 못다봐도 별로 다 간지지기 로를 녀한테나요 신의 것도 로고 그래வே 아니 저런 돈이도 별로 녀한테 말라 신의 것도 로고 넣어서 되니 집어로 와서 그래.
So the experiential knowledge, so if you claim that it requires a karma abiding prior to the experiential knowledge of emptiness, then is it required the prior to knowledge, the experiential knowledge of impermanence and spirit of enlightenment? Prior to that, it requires shamatha or the serenity. This is actually, similar reasonings, because if you think that in order to have experiential knowledge of emptiness, it requires a cultivation of serenity. If this is so, then if in order to achieve experiential knowledge of impermanence and spirit of enlightenment, does it requires achievement of serenity prior to that?
되지. 딱 나속이 내가한테 가르쳐는 돈이도 별 하던 잡아라 신의 것도 로고에서 계셔대로 와.
So what we are stating here is, discussing here is now, in order to gain insight or the superior knowledge, into the ultimate nature of reality or emptiness, then it requires a serenity or the cultivation of serenity prior to that.
되지. 와나 세테다들레 와나 신의 와나 신의 하동라 글루 강이냐나스 데라 공제네서 소소도비 싫어지 넘버 제바다 로드 넘버 제비 감바테 지시도 리센 신도 장와 제바 미니바 데시도 하동도 제스팀비 이셰인라 데라 신장 제바나 하동도 송베 신의 마다바 소소도비 싫어지 시고 제장시장 데이터 리센 신도 장와 장이 가데 제바 미니라 데 신의 터네네 하동 말이 터네네 소소도비 싫어지 시고 제장 랑게타 신자제바 셰베 데라 신의 주거데 오데시바 샤오소.
Then he says, so why is serenity required for insight? According to Sutra unraveling the intended meanings. As long as the practice of discrimination and special discriminations with discerning wisdom cannot generate physical and mental pliancy, it constitutes a type of attention which approximate insights. When it generates pliancy, then it is insight. Thus, if you have not attained serenity, then no matter how much analytical meditation you do with the discerning wisdom, in the end, you will not be able to generate the delight and bliss of physical and mental pliancy. Once you have attained meditative serenity, then even the analytical meditation of the discerning wisdom will accumulate in pliancy. Hence, insight requires meditative serenity as a cause. This will explain below.
되게 저도 배치 때는 내가 타고 있는 것이 고민 커서 고민돼. 다들 제라는 배나 돈이 싫어 되기 배나 로도 나바지 바세네 나바지다 세네 딘지기 돈이 감비 로되기 네 간도지 리센 신샤데 대와 만제 바도 텔라 하통 세네 라고 말해 하통도 주스티 비 시에서라 그래서 뭐 기대자다.
So now here it is important to understand that as long as you have not generated mental and physical pliancy by means of by realizing emptiness, it is not to say have gained insight or the vipassana with regard to emptiness. It is mere approximate insight. It is not a real insight. In other words, ordinary insight. It is not approximate insight. It is only when you have able to generate physical and mental pliancy derived from wisdom realizing emptiness, then it is qualified. It can be qualified. It is a real insight into emptiness or the lakdong.
이시 되게 아니 이시들 하던 같이 차그래서나 된주기 돈이 소소 집이 따지 리센 신사지 대화 쳐버진 제 통에 싫어지 같이 차서나 안텔라 돈이도 하동설라 그래서
whenever such wisdom realizing emptiness induces the mental and physical pliancy, then such a wisdom is said to be the insight.
된주기 리센 신사지 대화 쳐버진 저기 소소도 비 싫어 되게 리센 집이 따지 리센 신사지 대화 쳐버진지 잡아라 신의 뭐도 마송바 로 그런 가시 잡았잖아요. 가데든 제 투고 말이 쓰고 말이에요.
So then in order to generate such a mental and physical pliancy derived from one's wisdom realizing emptiness, one need to first cultivate serenity or shine. So but without cultivating a shine or the serenity, it is not possible for one to gain the insight into wisdom realizing, insight into the nature of reality or emptiness. Because regardless of how much analytical meditation one may undertake, one will not be able to achieve vipassana without undergoing, without accomplishment or without actualization of serenity and or shine.
되지. 섀도아데 대타 신장 신도장이 가데지 메니라 실로디 신행화도 마서 내가 말 신의 터네 수소도비 싫어지 시간시에디 다 신장제 두고리 레세 신장 대화제 두고리 된주게 로데라 이제 돈유도 하동선다 그래 손도아.
So here then again it says, thus if you have not attained serenity, then no matter how much analytical meditation you do with discerning wisdom, in the end, you will not be able to generate the delight and bliss of physical and mental pliancy. Once you have attained the meditative serenity, then even the analytical meditation of discerning wisdom will culminate in pliancy. Hence, insight requires meditative serenity as a cause.
텔라 신의 죽고때 오도 시바샤서디 죽고서나 다고 된주 소소도비 하토데 제버리 되게 제데서잖아 소소도비 가사 레센 돈유도 베사네레 간지 레센 신장 대화 준비 신의 죽고를 손도아 텔라 신의 죽고때 오도 시바샤오서디 죽고데 세디 혼데 로고데 고고로아.
That's all. So then it's clearly mentioned over here, once you have attained the meditative serenity, then even analytical meditation of discerning wisdom will culminate in pliancy. Hence, then it says, hence, insight requires meditative serenity as a cause. So that it clearly states that in order to have, insight into the meditative, insight into the emptiness, it then requires a meditative serenity as a cause. So it explains the insight and the serenity becoming a cause and effect.
데 시오디 시바 샤오지 대나지 소소도비 셔럽지 소소도비 셔럽지 미발라 미바질라 마샤바 시비 따오지 신상제 니나 니바나 나도든 제외 그래서 대나 소소도비 셔럽지 미바질라 미바질라 마자레 알레 라동세데 미바질레 샤오에 소치고로 미바질라 마샤바 시비 따오지 신상제 니바나 나도든 제외 유동반이라 미장 세미바질라 자비 온게 신상제반네 신내지 신내 둘루 레 멘다예 대장제 라동도 민조대 선도 알레 대바등에 지라고도
No, sir. So discerning wisdom becomes insight when, without focusing on the single object, it can generate pliancy through the power of analysis. So generating pliancy by setting your attention on the single object of meditation, even if the object is emptiness, emptiness is nothing more than a way to achieve serenity. That alone does not count as attaining insight.
되지. 또 어떻게든로 그 단지 이게 최대 신내도 최대 최진이가 미엔도아 근데 신내도 하도 이거 뒤치도 주는 되게 소 가르치는 누구래서는 러버와 단지 그게 주는 되게 가르치는 주 소소 주그래서는 러버들라 아니 저렇게 러버나 이게 미빠 이 소소 제도지 일은 녀바 잡아들 신내기 주 말에 하도기 주시리마도 신내기 주시 말에 이 미빠 찔을 제티데 녀바 잡히다지 신상이 대화 침반지 저와이나 대 신내진 루시리마도 하토기 루시 말에 시디 인간냥도 용해 말에 소야들.
So now, previously that it talks about, since the object of meditation or meditation of serenity and the wisdom realizing emptiness, I mean the insight or the wisdom realizing emptiness. Sorry, it's not that. I'm sort of. Let's repeat. I'll repeat once again. Since it says that the object of meditation of serenity may be either reality itself or the conventional phenomena, possessed of reality, right? So then why it is necessary? You know, it was the other person's position, other person's viewpoint. So it was stating that why it is necessary to have order of serenity and insight, because since serenity can have its object, both reality and the phenomena, the conventional phenomena possess reality. So why it requires those two in orders? It doesn't require any orders. That is the other person's position. So now here we are not really, when it comes to the serenity and insight, we're not really talking about based on its object, right? We're talking about whether you have generated a physical and mental pliancy as a result of realizing emptiness.
뒤쳐도 곧 될 거대와 신내도 시초줘야래. 아니 인간냥도 용해야 말 가르스나 아니 이 찔라 아니 소 이질을 녀바 마샤바 소소 쟁에 되나 하통선을 그리 이질을 녀바 자네 아니 신상제 통에 되나 신내서라 그리 동부때 아니 신내기 루치데 말에 봐도 괜히 녀도 줘야 돼 용해 민도아스 와 세테레
So then the other person may have said, has asked, or has argued that, this too can be generated simultaneously, and it doesn't require any orders, because this is not possible. Because when it comes to the meditation of serenity, it requires a single-pointed meditations. When it comes to the insight, it doesn't require a single-pointed meditations. It can be analytical meditations. So the analytical and the single-pointed cannot be done simultaneously by one single, cognitive. It cannot be done within the single cognitive event.
jo de che de ta sa dombo da me bi ko se ne de la yang da yang de xie ba xie na ne ho do xie ne man ju be de la de ne xie ne ju ba mi si ro me xie ban jo kon xie na ne de la de ne xie ne ju chang xie ne ji zhong ci le la ma to be la tong gi zhong ci me be xie ne la tong zhe ge be xie ne ho zhe ne de la de ne la tong gong bi rimba le manda wi sha
So then here it says, discerning wisdom becomes insight when without focusing on the single object. It says the discerning wisdom. Okay, that's important point. Discerning wisdom becoming insight when without focusing on the single object. It can generate pliancy through the power of analysis, right? So generate pliancy by setting your attention on the single point, single object meditation. Even the object is emptiness. It's nothing more than a way of achieving serenity. That alone does not count attaining insights. Why? If you thus first seek understanding of selfness, then analyzing its meaning again and again, it will be impossible to achieve serenity on the basis of this analysis, since you have not previously achieved serenity. If you do not stabilizing, if you do stabilizing meditation without analysis, you will achieve serenity on that basis. However, there is no way to sustain insight except by sustaining serenity. You have to seek insight later. Hence, this does not fall outside the patterns in which, having previously sought serenity, you cultivate insight based on it.
de be ko de shu ji song cha de ji de de ro dong bo ne so so jie de gang gu ya na de zhe so so jie de gang de na xian ne zhu ba sigma de yes ani jo gang xian ne jia de la xian ne se la gu ma dong na zhong zhu si ma ro wa yin za ne dong bo jo gang jie qi se ne jie gang jie le ren ba le man da wa de就是ko de wa xian.
So then here it says now, analytical meditations or the analysis will not really become a meditation that's meditation of serenity. The meditation of serenity should be a lack of it is a devoid of analytical meditations. It should be a single pointed. So therefore then the analytical meditation, when it is going through analysis, it is not a single pointed. It cannot be a meditation of serenity. So therefore, this too cannot be achieved within the single cognitive event. It cannot be achieved by one single event of one single mental cognitive event.
되게 저 고아들 중에서 단지 고래 동보 농로라 아니 가서 신내라 아니 최대 최진이가 미바여서라도 신내도 소소니 뒤지도 아니 제바 제시자나 신내도 나도니가 뒤지도 좀 초고로 와 생겼더라 아니 용무 초배기 저 랜드 저거.
So this is the answer to the previous questions of it says, as explained above, it says the object of meditation of serenity may be either reality itself or the conventional phenomena possessed of reality. If you first understand the meaning of selflessness, then the meditate while focusing on this, it should be enough to simultaneously produce both serenity of undistracted mind and insight focusing on emptiness.
라도제비 최네 소소도비 시레 소소도비 시강지 신장 제발은 미세나 신행모도 제네 델라테네 라도 강발라 제세양다 제세양다 존재장 메라지 알레 메라지 림바테다 강바 미세나네 치 메리테 공제네 손도.
So then here it says, accordingly, the way insight develops is that discerning analytical meditation generate pliancy. If this were not so, then there would not be the slightest good reason to seek serenity first and then cultivate insight based on it. And for failing to do this meditations in this order is quite inappropriate because the sutra are unraveling the intended meaning states.
Dice, te jinse tere, shene hondo rogo se te, shene hondo rogo se te, suso tobi shiraji shietaji lisen shishaji dewa chepa jen jambala, laton ngunzi jene, di ngunzi jene, tela, shene hondo rogo jinse re mato, tele shenpa chila, shene hondo rogo sana jinse yanda chiyo yo mare son.
Here again, repeating that in order to have generate physical and mental pliancy induces by wisdom realizing emptiness or the insight, then for that requires a serenity prior to that. Other than that, just realizing emptiness and understanding or discerning wisdom that understand emptiness or analyzing emptiness and so on doesn't require the cultivation of the serenity, meditative serenity or shine.
다 된디 때래 소소도비 싫어지 시에다지 리센 시장데 대화 쳐봐진 잼발라 아니 신의 것도 로그서 나그래마도 아니 돈이 또 봐잖아 로무고 돈이 또 별로래 녀와 켜봐라 신의 것도 로무고 간들라서
we already talked about that again and again, right? Wisdom realizing emptiness derived will induces the mental and physical pliancy is said to be the insight or the vipassana. Otherwise, just mere realization of emptiness doesn't require this meditative serenity. The meditative serenity is required to generate physical and mental pliancy.
진짜야다 중세 메시지 진짜들이 치미리테 군데래 신의 터발라 때네 하통 강바 하통바다 손신 마말라 때 심마제 시두게 삼된 당 싫어지 림바 당 하바 땡에 제제 하발라 때네 하바 싫어지 하바 제비 림바 나 신의 몰라 강네 하통 싫을 강비 림바 인라 나 샹사 정바 당 년사 레자 신내라 때네 하동 강바 송신 어머님보다宣주당 공인 송당 이些잡았다 신대바나 좀 모두 신내 제네 하동 강바 송비 쇼로 대나 송도 야가지 캠보 야가지 로베 같이 생겼지.
So here it says, because the sutra unraveling the intended meaning states in a passage cited above that you cultivate insight on the basis of having attained serenity. Also the order of which it said that the later order of meditative stabilization and wisdom among the six perfections, of which it said that the later develop based on the former on training in higher concentrations are in agreement with the sequence in which, having previously cultivated serenity, you later cultivates insight. Asanga's bodhisattva's level cited earlier, and his Sharvaka's level or the Sharvaka Bhumi, indicate that insight is cultivated on the basis of meditative serenity. Also, Baba Viveka's heart of the middle way, Madhyamaka Hadaya, Shanti Deva's engaging in the bodhisattva's deeds, Kamala Shila's three stages of the meditations, And then also, also the Janaka Kriti and Ratnakara Sanati all state that you cultivate insight after previously seeking serenity.
되지. 딱 가서 대전에 시에는 데려도 아 변에 파신 쪽이 림바스나리 라바송이 림바스나리 아니 뜻은 뭐냐가 돼 아니 신에다 하동이 림바 코로나 때네 아니 하동이 림바 되래 손도 대체로디 될라 하동은 뭐 신에 뭐도 로고가 이 림바 되래 될래 예바 되네 단다디 자숑디 몸바데 예네 시시제롱 대장 콘도사.
So all those the manner of the orderly practice of the six perfections, and also the mannerly orders of the orders of the three high trainings are given on the basis of the trainings of the sequential trainings of the serenity and wisdom realizing emptiness, or the insight. Sorry. So this is being so. There are many cited. There are many sources that is cited in the guide in the great treatise on the stages of part. It's a part in Latin itself by Lama Tsongkhapa.
되지. 시송비 싫어지. 되나 자가 절호변 카지에 신의 수도 매초와 동번의 소소도비 싫어지 시에발에 사도제바 시에발에 신다 첨번는지 중단 가에 로단 대반는지 이된 비네스 머롱 송도 타지.
And here it says, some Indian masters claim that without seeking serenity separately, you generate insight from the outset, through analysis by discerning wisdom. Since this view contradicts the text of the great trailblazers, the wise deemed it to be untrustworthy.
되지. 대로 미세르기 제목이. 다 신에다 라동기 고린 대양 동번의 사대 제비 세 대다 시지 신의 라동문도 강네 신의 강방 시베 고린 예매 예바매도 원하길래 딜레서 라라네 라동 타바 예지 신에네 마터데 대 라동라 때네 신의 좀바 시도 시 송바 제답의 인시나 손도.
And here again it says, this is the sequence in which you newly develop serenity and insight for the first time. Later, the sequence is indefinite, as you may cultivate serenity after previously cultivating insight, what it says. The Asanga's compendium of knowledge states, some attain insight but do not attain serenity. They strive for serenity on the basis of insight. How do you account for this question?
시나지 딱킬레데 코로타하나 되어도 대나지 산데 돈비 니도지 듀비 시네 마터 시네 마터바 민지 산데 돈비 무지 yen지 시네 마터바 대 대양 뎀바지 모수도 또네 델라테네 산데 돈비 산데 돈보 연체지 시네 두바데 사이 모젤레 예양 동해 내 랑지 바도양 나도 봐도 양 따버지 따와지도 럽도 셰라 산데 동보라 수바네 마터데 데 두마타도 센조데 센 넘번지 버시 센 넘번지 범시도 대라비 셰로 데니라 데네 라비 센 잠버시도 셰송비 셰로 저 타니 zo yang biu tan den ro shen ju des men je tan ye zo yang biu wang de xie na ma zo yang wa xia yi xie de se go la xie ne da nang ba je ba so xie ne la ma de la tong de song ba yue zhang xie ne mo ne che ban jo wa da xian yang jie ba ne ya go so song de.
Here now Reply, this means that they have not attained the serenity of actual first meditative concentrations, okay, or beyond. It does not preclude their having attained the serenity which is included in the access to the first meditative stabilizations. Also, once you have perceived the serenity, once you have perceptual knowledge of the four truths, you can establish on that basis the serenity of the actual first meditative stabilizations and the higher meditative stabilization for the asangas level of yogic deeds, or the Yogacarya Bhumi says. Moreover, you can accurately know the reality of the truth from suffering to the path without having attained the first meditative stabilization, etc. As soon as this knowledge of the truth occurs, you stabilize your mind and do not analyze phenomena. Based on this higher wisdom, you pursue the practice of the higher state of consciousness. In general, for the sake of comprehensive terminology, the 9 mental states are called meditative serenity, and then a fourfold analysis is called insights. However, you must apply the term actual serenity and actual insight, as will be explained after the generation of blind state.
Tonyo tobe laton sati chebala, tonyo tobe shenehon de rogo salauri mato, yinchi michi kadi yina shene da laton yin nyechere vesana mare lada.
So here,
Kansate sati chebala.
so here it's clearly mentioned that this means that have not attained the serenity of actual path. It says that it requires this meditation of serenity prior to wisdom realizing insight at the first time, when the very first time of achievement of insight requires the prior achievement of shamatha or the insight. That doesn't actually says that whenever you gain insight, it requires whenever you cultivate insight, it requires meditation of serenity. This is, however, it's not so. It is only required for the first time when you newly generate this insight. Then it requires the prior meditation of serenity.
Tacho dino la inchi na kanda teni meshe nga tsu teni dendere. Tonyo tobe sante je ngoshi jewa, ngoshi rangi la jewa la tongpa sante tambi nyedo meche me sengete, nga de rogo, nyedo sengete. Pena nga tsu teni re, kodewa she na, tonyo tobe ene, haton ye ngon jebe ene, bache mala rangi la jewa na, ene, de la tene, tonyo tobe shene ye ngon jebe nandro lang, jeje rowa. Tendege pande shante go. The lo kama de ye mo chi bi shene jala lo oma ji de ye ne ha ton la de ne lo kama de shene sa de chebo mo boyo
Tonyo to be ha ton mo ji be ha ton
tonyo to be pena tonyo to be ha ton mo ji bi pa che ma la de ne tonyo to be mo ji bi nang zhe la shene mo ji bi nang zhe la zu ba yo nga zo shen nang pa che ma la de nang zhe la ni de yang ha pa re ro
pa rim la wo
de na gi san de to be ni do se de tonyo to be pa che ma la ro de dan ni do 돈이 소도 베니도 대 받치면 뭐지 비신 하통체 아니 다 가르고 산데도 뭐지 뭐지 아니 나온저랑 신에도 주질한데 이제지로 하지.
So here, if you look at the replies, this means that you have not attained the serenity of the actual first meditative stabilization or beyond. It does not preclude their having attained the serenity, which includes in the access to the first meditative stabilizations. So here, you can also take another analogy of wisdom realizing emptiness in the nature of insight, which becomes an uninterrupted meditative equipoise, uninterrupted meditative equipoise, and the thoroughly liberated, derived from this uninterrupted meditative equipoise, are in a sequential order, right? First, we need to have uninterrupted. One needs to cultivate uninterrupted, uninterrupted meditative equipoise. Then, after having cultivated that and perfected that, this will then induces the thoroughly liberated, or namdulam, which means the thoroughly liberated, wisdom will be then generated. So this is pretty similar orders.
Telekodewa shena sante shela pajana ruwa. Sante tombi nguji ngwa chibi, hato chibi kola, sante chibi ngwa chibi shena cheji ruwa.
Because here, at the first meditative, first actual, the actual first meditative stabilizations, meditative stabilization induces the insight. Then the second meditative stabilizations serenity is yet to be produced, because it is only the first meditative serenity is produced, and then it induces the insight. Then at this point, the second meditative serenity is yet to be produced.
아주 용기 타니들은 지 타니 도바다 타니 양바다는 지게시고래. 근데 타니 양병원도시나 이 세네고바데 데라 아니 가르레 세네고에 놓으로라 아니 세네고리 세네다 아니 하통게 여와데 시샤스 오늘 제나 말레스 아니 세네고바데 하통데 주스 템바레 아니 하통 뭐지데 제네 제제르 세네고라 하통데 제네 제제로 와스 이 타니고 데도코 도전이지 게면도 거의 타마이 시티.
So then it says, at the last paragraph where it says, in general, for the sake of comprehensive terminology, the 9 mental states, right, are called meditative serenity, and the fourfold analysis is called the insight. However, it says, you must apply the term actual serenity and actual insight, as will be explained after the generation of mind.
딱 가서 사제 되게 내가 좀 보여다. 가서 사제 되게 가서 배셔보는 하면 뭐 과학을 그랬잖아. 얘네 돈이 또 배선을 다 간지 돈이 또 하도를 하지를 잡아라. 아니 신행모도 로고래. 진세 아니 리센시 로데이 리센시자지 대화 쳐봐진 제 통해지 쳐봐라. 이지 미지 돈이 또 배선에 정도도 만들어라. 소소도 배선하게 리센시자 대화 쳐봐진 레토고 말이 딩에는 돈이 또 봐요래. 영화한테 봐요래. 다 지지.
The special insight that understands emptiness, which is the Lakdong, in order to generate such mental quality, which is very important to know, it requires a meditative serenity. Without prior achievement of meditative serenity, it is not possible for one to have the Lakdong, or which is Tongyito Lakdong, which is the special insight that realizes that it's a tense emptiness. That is not possible, because in order to become such a realization of emptiness is insight or the Lakdong, it should possess a quality of generating the physical and mental appliances. Without having such quality, then just mere realizing emptiness or ascertaining emptiness alone is not qualified to say as it should not be called as an insight or the Lakdong.
대체 다지제. 다 라리네 번호는 메시지 가르쳐야 되는데 돈이 또 별로기 영화한테 별로 돈이 또 별로 영화한테 별로 쳐봐지 마도 태바선도 지대 오마선라 돈이 또 별하도 라지 쳐봐라 돈이 또 신한 것도 로그비 쳐 당마 라메 일로라 아니 뭐도 로모고 소리 So in the middling
the stages of the path to enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa, where he has clearly stated that in order to, it says for the third Vajrayana vehicle, the third Vajrayana vehicle and below, in order to generate insight into the emptiness or the Lakdong Tongyi Toba Lakdong, which is Vipassana without ascertained emptiness, requires the prior achievement of meditative serenity or the shine or the calm abiding. However, when it comes to the highest Yoga Tantra, it doesn't require to achieve insight. It doesn't require prior knowledge of this shamatha or calm abiding. It is exceptional what it says. So let's do our dedication prayers.
Before we do that, I have a request. Rinpoche. I would like to have a oral transmission to recite the mantra of Amitayus. Would you recite it, this mantra for me, please?
다 대선 제단이나 다 정으로 가서는 제가 저 장난은 다 미세를 지레마도 나한테 제가 장난은 돼서 된적이 천대다 미세다 제금에다 다 집안에 제 차로라 처음부터 절로 그 이제 대한민국 저와면 되면 저와만은 저도 뭐 그면도는 저거는 산제 저와면로 저도 너무 방어하네 아바르면 나 이제는 쓰면 시도다 된다라서 다다마다야 알아 대선에서 어디다 보내면 마음은 아바르면 되거든요 아바르면 보내는 저는 소상가로 버리셔다 너무 내가가는 사먹어도 사보 미제네 많아요 바로 월에서 오마라는 점에 대해서 오마라는 점에 대해서 오마라는 점에 대해서 오마라는 점에 대해서 와 번에나마 된게다에도 오셔서 저저런 지고 이제 보여 넘버 재미실로 저도 너무 소들로 저들이 메르가 베라노 저도 우도도 쇼데 베데 아성성도 어버버는 가대가가 서버 베데 어게 너무 소당아서 너무 거든 아비다비 계획을 먹는 아라라 마마 아야상도네 쇼데 베데 가가서 베데 그러니까 빠르셔 사사랑도 소당아 아월로게 대가는 아월로게 대가는 바로 소당만에 나그나 소당아 아덴타나 아데데데 메데메 마음 매매네 아덴타나 아데데데 메데메 마음 그래서 사나 빠져 소가 어런데 타이나도 마마데 소당아 소야 아자 오미네메 마음 베 마베메네 마데메네 마마데 소데 다다 베는 거 봐서 베자 베시 해안 자다 베자 하라마 바로 소베 아데데데 시주 메데메 베제메 마음에 서베 베자긴 베자가 베자 유바 베상바 베메네 베마바이나 마셔라 소다 내다가 바이나 메사도 소다 보셔 소다가 자만 사마셔 사이도 베데 세네는 보다 묘다 마자 묘다 쇼다 베데 사메다 마자 사 라멘버레 소다 아덴다나 아드르데 멘제메네 마음 멘다반에서 온도서 오면다 온도서 오면다 데서 퀄리티를 따르면 되다는 드레나는 저마용라 서 온다레도 따르 마마이 비네냐 온다레도 마마이 비네냐 온다레도 따르 마마이 비네냐 온다레도 따르 비네냐나 베르고르 소와 디멘지비 사마동아나 데이마나 찰라나서 서와도네 쳐다봐 주면은전도 더버 쇼 도저 경로년 매장된데 전담배변 주동에서 도선에서 사님 배려야요라 좀 너무 반가워데 배관 거르면도 어디어도 배관 마음 배관자라서 삼문가대에서 교환대 년도도 밀레저본도 되는 도와지자만에 대해서는 거 보시고 순전히 버티냐 뉴턴에 레타지전 로에는 말로 받았던 종합을 봐서 사진 한번은 다시 여당 하도록 Mata Kanto Nanje Tashi Chujun Soma Nanje Tashi Sho. Yeah. What the last time?
So,
Dehi Josaro.
more decision.
I know, what the relationship.
So with this, the oral transmission of the three longevity, deities of the longevity has been completed. Rinpoche recited the long version of mantras of three longevity, deities of the longevity. And so now let's do our dedication and prayers. We have spent 2 hours of engaging in the virtuous deed, particularly of receiving the teachings and going through the explanation of this serenity and insight. So may all this sentient beings be able to gain both serenity and insight to gain the state of enlightenment into power, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. Please place me and all other sentient beings to be able to do this. Kada yamba gashi sabon Lomi mare gedon dowa na jen jaye ombo daju Dama zembe sero gundo yan jambe yan je sewe jezon Dembe remba kyansan lanje jo nyene jube jena nyeshe Rangi chechen tobe lanje ne shuja sewe changye tage Roye ye che menpa se she ne jaye tenpa yurin zinju Tenpa rin chen choke mancha ba cha cha nyamba chube shoden Nije chenpe ye ro jumba ye pende de de se wan she ba Se jen jaye mi zhong chen le le zhuo shang chu nang je rinpe Tande nang je yin lang pe de xin jia yuan zi ba rin de jiong ju Na san zhu bi tin jin zhu xie jin ge jin si jie me dang me mi Sera gyun du jia yuan ma ba ye na da zhe wa ma ju Gang ce te ba chu la chu jie jie ci jian zhu la zhen ba de yi Tu dian nang zhe da du zhu xi zha xi jiang ci shu gun qiao ju ji ji zhe la mi gu ce rao dian jin nang ge chen de shu zhi jie ba Lo zang dian bi zhi mian sa song Zhuo ye min se da du nian ju ji Gang zhe rao yun guo yu xin ang Pian dang de wa ma lin jiong yuan xin re zin hong din zin jia zu Xiao bei xin ti ba du dian ju ji Gang zhe rao yun jiang bei ba yu jie da qian ba dang Gyun zhu zong bu dian yang di xin De da gyun ju ji su da lo ji Ye wan de da dang ji ro du mo Ji zong xi bin jia wa dang ji Wo gang la chu du hua bo Da xin ge yue za wan du gen Zong bu shi shi ro du hong wan Ah ya, tu che. Ah ya.